Thank you. Thank you so much. So yes, we've started recording tonight's program, and welcome to you all to BPIA's 2024 Board Candidates Virtual Meet and Greet Town Hall. My name is Kolu Kugler, and I'm the VP of Business and Economic Development, but also co-chair of the Governance Committee and a member of the Elections Nomination Committee. Before we get started with our program, which is obviously the stars of this show would be our candidates, and we're really pleased that so many have chosen BPIA. We would like to open our program today with a word of welcome from our president, Alexandra Maloney. You have the floor, please, Alexandra.
Thank you so much, Kolo. Firstly, if we could give a virtual round of applause to Kolo, who is our co-chair for the governance committee and our chair for the nominating committee. So if we can give her a round of applause. Thank you, Kolo, for your leadership in guiding us and pushing us through this process. Also, shout out to our chair of our governance committee, Alexandria Haidara Baker, as well as all of the governance committee members, myself included, who have helped to get us through our 2024 board election season. So my name is Alexandra Maloney. I'm currently the president of Black Professionals in International Affairs. And this is now the middle of my second term as BPI president. And so I'd just like to congratulate all of those who have run for this particular election. We need our leaders and members of our community to come and engage and involve with our organization. We are only as strong as the efforts and the individuals who are in the organization itself. And so whether it's serving on the BPI board or supporting with our committees or city and campus liaisons, the organization continues to expand and to reach new heights, and we need to do it together. And so if you haven't already, please consider engaging with BPIA in whatever way may be a fit for you. And so with that, I will also be speaking through an overview of the elections today. Here's a brief agenda where I've given the opening remarks. I'll go into an overview of our elections, and then I'll pass it back over to Kolo and Lasine, who will moderate our candidate speeches and our Q&A section. So this year, similar to last year, we will have the Q&A followed immediately after each candidate's speech, and then we'll move to closing remarks. So as candidates are speaking, for members who are on, please feel free to write down any questions that you may have for each person who is speaking. So very quickly, our BPIA elections, we follow the procedures that are outlined in our organization's bylaws and our handbook. Those are reviewed by our pro bono team. Board of Directors candidacy is open to all active BPIA members. The ballots and the campaign time goes live after tonight's town hall. Ballots are sent, only active BPI members can vote. Ballots are sent via email with a special link. Voting ends after 10 days, and then the election results are announced at the BPIA annual meeting on Wednesday, December 13th at 6 p.m., which is happening via Zoom. And then lastly, all election and candidate information can be found on the BPIA members only section of the website. If you have any questions regarding this process or elections as a whole, you can direct those to governance@iabpia.org. So again, these are the two dates as it pertains to voting and to the annual meeting. This information is also found on the upcoming events page on our website. And with that, I look forward to hearing the statements of intent from our candidates. Again, as a community, we encourage new ideas and new possibilities in a kind of structured and thoughtful way. And so I'm very excited to hear today's candidates And again, thank you all so much. Thank you again to the board, the current board of BPIA, who has been instrumental in pushing a number of different programs and initiatives, supporting our strategic plan as an organization to continue to expand. And so with that, Kolo, I'll go ahead and pass it back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alexandra, and thank you to our president. And thank you for the leadership also. I mean, we have quite a lot of people to thank who've put this program together. So the governance committee and of course the board supporting, thank you so much. Really, it's been a pleasure to work with you all. So I'm not the star of the show tonight. It's your program, but I just want to remind you of some of the things that we're looking for in board members. And of course, as Alexandra said, there's somebody of good financial standing, but somebody who is dedicated to education and international issues and public policy and economic development, and participating in and attending BPIA meetings, events, fundraisers, and other activities, international and intercultural understanding and cooperation, and of course, collaborating with other organizations and institutions that have similar interests as BPIA. I mean, just to let you know, everybody, we have 19 candidates that have come to stand before us and tell us why we should be electing them. And this is really amazing to have so many people of such high caliber come and wants to serve as part of the BPI board. It really is an honor for us to be sitting here listening to them. Just to remind you all which positions are open so that we know who we will be voting for, starting from after this event. We have the opening for the vacancy of the Vice President of Business and Economic Development. So that would be my position. The Vice President for Education and Exchange, the Vice President for Professional Development, the Secretary, the Assistant Secretary, the Assistant Treasurer, and we have 3 positions for members at large, 2 one-year positions and 1 is a 2-year position. And so without any further ado, I'm going to pass the floor over to Lacine, who will run the formal part of this event, which is the presentation of the candidates. Just to remind you again, as Alexandra said, please, you have 3 minutes. You will be timed in which to present yourself, and thereafter we give our audience 3 minutes to send any questions your way. And so, Lacine, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Kolo, and good evening, everyone. My name is Lacine Sharif. I serve on the board of BPIA board as a treasurer. I would like to thank you again, all of you, for joining us tonight. This is now the time to hear from our candidates. And as Kolo pointed out, each candidate will be invited to make a 3-minute presentation in which you will tell the audience your name, your professional or academic affiliation, and why you would why you will be the most suitable candidate for the position for which you run. After each presentation, the floor will be open to the audience for an additional 3-minute Q&A session. Anyone present here can ask you a question. Please be concise and precise. Also be mindful that as Kolo mentioned, we have 19 candidates, and we would like to give each candidate the same opportunity. So if there is any time remaining after all 19 candidates have made their presentation, each candidate will be given another 30 seconds to make closing remarks. Please note that all intervention will be timed, so ensure that you cover everything in your allotted time. The presentation order will be by board position, then alphabetically by the last name of a candidate. So now, without further ado, let's start with the position of, and I think let me see. I thought I had my camera on. So I'm trying to find the best way to notify you, so I don't know if you'll be able to see me, but I'm planning to raise a yellow flag, a yellow card to sort of alert you that you have 1 minute left. But again, you can also, might find another way to let you know, but again, you have 3 minutes. I want to make sure that I turn off my phone so that you don't get disturbed by the alarm. So now let's start with the position of Vice President for Business and Economic Development, which is one position for a 2-year term. And we will start with, and excuse me if I mispronounce your name, please feel free to correct me. So we will start with Job Shirio B.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to this event. My name is Job Chiriat B. Listen, you pronounced it quite well. I am a Kenyan citizen and American legal permanent resident. I am married with 1 kid. My background with education, I studied in Kenya all through to bachelor's degree, which I graduated in 2015 with bachelor's degree in animal sciences. And then I went to Israel, Tel Aviv University to do my master's degree in molecular biology. And I graduated in 2018. So immediately after I graduated in 2018, I came to United States as an exchange visitor through the Ohio State University, a program which was supposed to last for 1 year. And so after I finished my program in 2019, I went back to Kenya for 1 year. And then the university gave me a position in the Office of International Programs to work as a contact person for East Africa and to help East African students and graduates to also come to the program. So that is the position that I have been holding since 2021 up to the moment. So I've been working with the Ohio State University, the Office of International Programs since then. I also did my internship with the BPIA Business and Economic Development Subcommittee from summer to fall, the program which ended just 2 weeks ago. And I worked with the people in the Business and Economic Development Subcommittee team. I am running for the position of Vice President, Business and Economic Development. And I humbly ask for your vote to believe in me and give me this position, this chance to continue the work that I've been able to do in the Ohio State University and to extend it to the BPIA in as much as also to learn more about the international affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe you will believe in me and give me the opportunity. I know I am up to the task. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Job. 35 seconds left.
Wow.
Good timing. Now this is the second part of your presentation, but not just a presentation, but this is the time for the Q&A session. So the floor is open to anyone here who has a question. Please feel free to raise your hand and ask your question. Any question for Job?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Could you speak to some of the specific programs for BPIA that you would be interested in, leading, and what experience you have in leading those types of programs? Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. My main interest is working with other international organizations that are looking to partner with BPIA, and especially business related organizations, and also to do more of fundraising, to support the programs with the BPIA.
All right, thank you, Job. Any other question? Please feel free to raise your hand and then say your name and ask your question. We'll still have 2 minutes left for Job. Any question? You can also add your question in the chat.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, my name is Bertha Jackman, and I'm one of the founding members of BPIA. So I'm always continuously interested in what's going on all these years later. Forgive me, I'm sorry, I'm going to say Mr. Job,
Yes,
okay?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of your presentation. Can you tell me how long you've been in BPIA? How did you hear about it? Who referred you? How did that all happen? And what, and again, please say, you know, what have you done with BPIA? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. While I was here in the Ohio State University working with international programs, I was always interested, you know, to learn more about international affairs, you know, stuff to do with international affairs. And I was always looking online to see which organizations I can work with, either remote or, you know, full-time. And then I came across this post in LinkedIn that was looking for interns for summer. And so that was posted by BPIA. And then I joined, I applied for the position of intern in summer, that is around June, July this year. And I was accepted as an intern through the Business and Economic Development. So I have been with BPIA for like about 6 months now. And I can say one of my achievements that I did through the guidance of my supervisor, who is Kolo, was to write the response to the government that was asking for response for, you know, by the president's office. And also I was able to draft a fundraising strategy for the BPIA, which I think it's still not yet approved, but it's in the process.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you so much, Joe. I think we're going to move on now to the next candidate. The next candidate is Violet Espy Pila.
Sorry, just before Violet jumps in, I know we don't always have our cameras on, but please, when you're presenting, it would be really, you know, I think good etiquette to have your camera on, please.
Thank you, Carlo. All right, Violet, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Violet Sipila. I currently work for a disaster recovery specialist for federal government. BPIA has made a huge impact on myself since joining 2 years ago as a communications committee, and later transitioned to a co-chair communications team. I am now the chair of agriculture and subcommittee for business and economic development. Because of its mission and what BPIA has done, it led me to continue to work with BPIA in the new initiative where we work to connect like-minded experts to come together in sharing awareness of the impact and the importance of agriculture across the globe. My vision, if I'm selected for this position as VP, is to connect with business across the globe to come together for discussion awareness in multiple sectors, example, agriculture, which I'm very passionate about. And in addition to finding common grounds, ways and solutions that impact African Americans and those of African descent. BPIA has that platform, and together we can continue with the mission in the areas, in vulnerable areas, and provide and create resources for businesses and those who have interest in business startups. My goals for 2 years as VP of Business and Economic Development, is to collaborate with businesses in all sectors across the globe for the purpose of engagement and awareness. Example, agriculture, I've mentioned that again. My second vision is to host events that align with BPIA mission and create resources pertaining to businesses from small scale to large scale and have the resources available exclusively to BPIA members. My third goal is to research grants that provide BPIA financial capabilities to create competitive application process inclusive for BPIA members who have businesses or startup businesses. With that said, thank you, and I look forward to the outcome of this election.
Thank you so much, Violet. My apologies for showing earlier this yellow card. Actually, you are right on time. 7 seconds left. So now this is now the time for the Q&A session for Violet. So if you have any question, please feel free to raise your hand, or you can put your question in the chat.
Hi, Violet. I'd like to ask a question. Thank you so much for your candidacy. I know you've been working in the BD committee, and I'd like you to please share some of the things that you've tangibly done during the time that you've been part of the BD committee to show your commitment to possibly leading this committee.
Within the communications committee, we had constant weekly meetings where we would prepare reports, and I would work with other team members from the media and all of the volunteers. In addition to that, I assisted and participated in the Korea Affairs during my time as communications team. And now as agriculture committee subcommittee, we have we have collaborated with our first event, and which will be coming up in December, with a discussion in the areas of climate change, with a focus in Africa.
Thank you, Kolo, for your question. Any other question? Checking.
Yeah, I have a question, Lassini.
All right, go ahead, please.
Violet, what do you think BPIA is currently not doing that we should be doing, and why?
I would say writing grants. That's what we're not really focusing on now. So I think writing grants and it will be able to, and all researching grants will be able to help with a lot of initiatives that we have across BPIA.
Thank you, Alexandra, for your question. Any other question? Checking to see if I'm missing any hands raised. All right. Okay, so that concludes. Thank you so much, Violet, for your presentation. And that concludes the presentations for the position of Vice President for Economic and Business Development. So we now move on to the presentations for the position of Vice President for Education and Exchange. This is one position for 2-year terms. We'll be starting with Bobby Curtis King 2. Bobby, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Lucina. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here tonight. My name is Bobby King. I am currently a board member for BPIA, the VP for helping with the Education and Exchange Committee. However, I am here as a 3-year member of BPIA, and I currently work with the USA Bureau for Humanitarian Affairs. I have came into this organization a little bit later than I would hoped, primarily as a primarily right after college in my grad school. And one thing that I kept thinking about was how this organization would have been very helpful for me to know when I was in my college years, still trying to figure out who I wanted to be, where I wanted to go. I see this organization as a way to kick down doors that have been locked to many African Americans and people of color throughout the years. And I see a lot of our work has to start within within younger students. So with this plan, I saw the Education and Exchange Committee as one of the most valuable bodies to work with in BPIA, primarily if I want to reach out and bring in more young people to the BPIA, and to the Foreign Affairs Committee work. So with my plan, I hope to connect further with schools and students as a way of helping with branches and youth colleges as many organizations in the US have done, like and this is making sure we know this is not partisan. The Young Democrats and Young Republicans having youth chapters in their colleges. I see that it could be very helpful to have youth chapters in college campuses. Additionally, I would like to collaborate with schools in the DMV area to show the more options for young students. Additionally, I hope to help secure programming where we can collaborate with universities at a deeper level, whether it is to teach the new Black professionals in foreign affairs or to help with connecting more people to foreign affairs. I hope to gain your vote and trust, and I yield for questions.
Thank you so much, Bobby. Now this is now time for the Q&A session for Bobby. Any questions for Bobby? Please feel free to also add your question. Oh, okay. I'm trying to see if I can see anyways. Okay.
Alexandra, you can have the floor.
Okay, thanks. Bobby, what would you say, in your opinion, should be the key target relationships for education and exchange for BPIA, like top 3?
Primarily, I would say the top 3 for me would be educators, namely the school administration, jobs itself, as a way to connect a pipeline between young people and the educational and the post-college life, and most importantly, young people themselves, where we can actually reach out to the people, seeing that if we are saying how much we're doing for the people, we must go towards where the people are. John Jalise, you have a question? No worries. So those would be my top 3 priorities. Connecting, given that our work with Education Exchange would be to connect all 3 colleges, students themselves, and career hiring officers as ways of connecting all 3 to each other and having that synchronistic relationship.
Thank you, Bobby. Any other questions?
Yes, this is Bertha Jackman again.
All right, go ahead, please.
This is for everyone who's running for this position. I know that the focus is on college students. What is the thought about reaching further down into high schools or even beyond that, to start not grooming students, but to start introducing to them the possibilities way before they get to college, possibilities of being in the field way before they get to to the college level? Thank you.
Thank you, Bertha. Sorry, Ms. Jackson.
Excuse me. That's Miss Jackman.
Of course. Thank you,
Okay.
Ms. Jackson.
No, excuse me. Look at your screen. It's
Jackman, rather. Apologies.
Okay.
Apologies.
All right, and I'm
Thank you, Ms.
sorry, I don't
Jackman.
mean to be picky, but I have to be precise. Thank you.
Of course, I understand the need for that.
Mhm.
Now, with regards to your question, to Ms. Jackman's question, I do want to note that I believe we must reach out to high school students, primarily students that are still trying to figure out what they are doing, because many people kind of go in with the idea that they have to go to college and then not sure where specifically they want to end up within their work. And many of the options of foreign affairs weren't really readily focused on in my high school. So I do believe that we have a great place to work on this, at least for the first part of here in the DMV area, as we can connect with younger students. Additionally, we also have, additionally, I do want to note two major things, that we also have the Career Fair and Madam Ambassadors program, where we can connect with younger students who are maybe not in the college realm yet, but as ways of connecting with individuals who are at least in these fields. So I would very much be an individual who would want to push for more connection with college campuses, with not just college campuses, but high school students, in order to get them focusing on the idea of a foreign service career.
Thank you so much, Bobby. Let's move on now to the next candidate for the position of Vice President for Education Exchange. Letitia Malcolm.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Letitia Malcolm. I am a newer member of BPIA. I joined around the spring semester of this year. Then I had some health issues, but I did attend events as I was able to. So I am a doctoral candidate at Morgan State University in education and social policy. I also have a certificate from Harvard in social, economic, and foreign policy. In addition to that, I'm a 14-year educator, and I am the Global Exchange Coordinator for the Council of International Education through the U.S. Department of State. All international students who desire to come to the DMV area, and high school students. So there is a college portion, but I specifically work with all high school students. I help place them with families or opportunities in the DMV area. And then I also am responsible for recruiting students from all across the United States to participate in international exchange opportunities. Right now, we are promoting the summer exchange because the Department of State had an additional $6 million grant. So outside of that, I also teach government and US history for DC public schools. And previously, my main focus was connecting African Americans, just to be completely honest, more African Americans to these opportunities, because as I engage with ambassadors, because I'm also the cultural educational exchange ambassador for CIEE and Department of State, one of my key issues is that there aren't many Africans, descents, and just Africans across the world that are applying for these programs, particularly high school students. And it is because there is a lack of knowledge. Throughout the summer, I had to profile students to get them into international positions, and there were literally no African or African descent students. So that's one of my goals as it relates to education and exchange. Again, as I said, I am connected to a lot of the ambassadors, diplomats, and attaches as it relates to education and cultural affairs and building programs, whether it's K-12 or college level programs, to engage more students in international travel, in international careers is one of my key focuses, and of course a part of my job description. And even before I got into this position, that's something that I was even doing, just supporting other organizations. And being a part of other organizations or supporting them, that's something that I would like to use their resources, things that we've gained just to support BPIA and their initiatives, and the initiatives here.
Thank you so much, Letitia. This is now the time for the Q&A.
Hi, Letitia. I have a question. Maybe if you can share with us if there's one particular program or initiative that you want to start in your term, what would it be, and how do you seek to make impact to the demographic that you would like to make impact through that program, specifically through BPIA?
Yes, one particular idea that I have is creating educational programs that focus on public diplomacy for younger students. One thing that I've even tried to teach my students in the career and as an educator is that you don't have to wait till you're in a career or an adult to be diplomatic. Show up as a public citizen, show up as public diplomacy, even within your communities, because those are skills and strategies that are useful across boards, regardless of what career you're in. But how do you represent your community? How do you build connections with your community? And those are things that our youth, especially during this time, need. That's just something that I feel that will be extremely beneficial. And even as it relates to utilizing the members of BPIA as somewhat mentors. So show the youth how to be diplomatic, show the youth how to be a good citizen, show them how to be respectful, show them how to engage. So that's just something that I would like to implement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question, Kolo, and thank you, Letitia. Any question? Letitia still has some time. Any question for our candidates? I am going through the list to make sure that I don't miss anybody, any hand raised. Okay. All right, so questions? All right, for the sake of time, so I think we're going to move on to the next candidate. Thank you so much, Letitia, for your presentation. Let's move on to the next candidate. I hope I'm pronouncing that was Tembele Mpaza.
Yes, it's Tembele Mpanza.
Tembele Mpaza. Thank you so much. All right, your floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tembele Mpanza, and I'm from South Africa. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to present myself. I'm a BEd graduate, Bachelor of Education graduate. I'm currently enrolled for honors, a BEd in honors, and I'm currently involved in some of the community projects. I'm currently volunteering at the Make Mark Africa, which is an NPO by Dr. Sanet Kamete on the hashtag #MeTrukMwazibulari campaign. And we motivate and empower children who failed matric to repeat matric and to not give up, because we saw a need of encouraging them, since there was we have like a high rate in suicidal cases in South Africa. And also I am being like selected to be an advisory board member for ECASI Entrepreneurs, which is an NPO that empowers and also trains some of the SMMEs who are based in townships and in rural areas. And I'm also a mentee at the WeCaps Women. At WeCaps, and I think this is my last week on the mentorship program. And I'm also a campus. I was also selected by BPIA, yes, Black Professionals in International Affairs, as a campus license at UNISA. And I'm also a mentor at the mentorship boardroom. And one of the reason for applying for this position is that I'm interested in Black professionals, especially the programs that Black professionals does. as I am also a member of the Black Management Forum, which is a non-racial, non-partisan, and also non-state organization based in South Africa, whose mission is to develop a managerial leadership and creation of managerial structures that reflect to the demographics and values of broad South African society. So joining the BPIA, I hope that I will be able to assist the president with the programs that are going to be suitable for the student, even at college or in high schools, focusing on advocacy and leadership programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stembile. This is now your Q&A session for Stembile. Any question for our candidate?
I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that it's 2:40 a.m. where you are right now. It's 1:40 where I am, and just thank you so much for coming and showing up at this time of the morning. And thank you for your commitment. Thanks so much.
In fact, I didn't like sleep because I'm not used to getting up on this early. So yeah.
I didn't sleep either.
Yes.
All right, any questions? All right, so yeah, I think. All right, thank you so much, Thembile Mpanza, for your presentation. We appreciate it. So let's now move on to the next candidate for the same role, Ariana Makule. Please, the floor is yours. Ariana?
Ariana, you're on mute.
Oh, okay. Finish it.
Oh, still happening 3 years after. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Ariana McCauley. I am based out of New York. Currently, I serve as the operations lead for the Global Board of Directors for Deloitte. In my day job, I work a lot with planning and activities and reportings for our global chair. I hold a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science from East Carolina University, and I have a double master's in international relations and diplomacy from Schiller International University in Paris and the University of Roehampton in London. I lived overseas for a few years, mainly because I decided to do my master's abroad, and I feel like doing that gave me a wider perspective of the outside world. And it's really like been a passion for me to make sure I'm able to give back and be able to still promote some type of like cultural exchange and education. I know for me, growing up in my household, my parents, grandparents, everyone always told me, do your education. That's one thing someone can't take away from you. And I hold that very dear to my heart. And within Deloitte as well, I am the community connections lead for our Black and Allies group. So that's also creating just unity within the diaspora and then creating events and programming for our Black population. One of the reasons why I'm really excited to run for this position is because I think I bring a good perspective, outside perspective. I've been a member since the pandemic happened, but to Bobby's point earlier, I think I would have really benefited from this organization when I lived abroad, just be able to just make more connections and have some type of community. So I'm hoping that I would be able to create that for members of the organization. Yeah, and that's me in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you so much, Ariana. This is now any questions for Ariana? Let me check and see if we can, okay.
There's a question from Lazare.
Nazar, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening, good morning to you all. I am a relatively new member representing the organization FHI 360 with headquarters in Washington, D.C. and North Carolina. Thank you so much for your commentary. I guess I wanted to just throw a question at you, Ariana. Given the work that you're doing now with Deloitte, what do you think you could bring to the organization in terms of corporate outreach? You know, there are a lot of organizations dealing through DEI matters, and I think our organization could be a conduit for a variety of different activities. How might you approach corporate outreach to support the membership of this group?
Yes, that is a great question. Sorry, my doorbell's going off in the background, so that's what you're hearing. I would just say my network is your net worth. I think I have a lot of connections like within Deloitte, and especially right now for us, we are having a really big DE&I push, not only for Black professionals, but we're also doing a push between intersectionality, because we all, like, you know, we're Black on the outside, but there's all different aspects to that as well. So I do think that there is a lot of opportunity to connect with different organizations, and not just like even with Deloitte. Previously, I was the program director for Young Professionals in Foreign Policy, the New York branch chapter. So just being able to leverage those connections and bring them to BPIA.
Great, thanks very much.
Thank you, Lazar, for your question. I thought I saw Kolo. I thought I saw your name. Okay.
No, it's fine. I'll yield to, there's a question in the chat. I'll just read it out from Job. Ariana, what would your strategy be to encourage more African-American students to participate in international exchange education programs?
I think it starts a little bit younger, as we've stated before, just trying to reach a younger audience in high school. I know for me, the reason why I went into IR was because I used to want to be a FBI agent, and then I wanted to be a lawyer. And then my uncle one day said, "Hey, have you ever heard of the Foreign Service Officer exam?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." And I was in high school. And from there, I was about to go to college, and I changed my major from criminal justice to political science. So if he would have never said that to me, I would have never been able, well, I may have heard about it, but I probably wouldn't have heard about it, to be completely honest, because it's not a big push unless you're already like within that community. So just being able to create programs for awareness for it.
There's another question from Alexandra Maloney for you, Ariana. What is your experience managing a team or a project of about 15 to 20 people, specifically for BPIA's career fair?
I'm a project manager or a PMP. So like, that's me by nature. I love planning, I love organizing, everything that has to deal with that. So I think I've had a lot of experience, specifically with my job currently. We have, I don't want to say like offshore, but we have our colleagues in India who support a lot of our initiatives. And there's usually anywhere up to 50 people that can be working on one activity, and having to be able to organize all of that. You just have to be very patient and very and ready to just jump in when needed. I think I'm a very hands-on person, so I'm all about teamwork. So as long as we can all get it done together, I think that's the best way.
Good. Thank you so much, Ariana Macaulay, for your presentation. That concludes now the presentations for the position of VP for Education and Exchange. Let's now move on to the position of, let me go back, sorry, Vice President for Professional Development, which is one position for a 2-year term. So let's start now with Ms. Rachel Barrett. Rachel, the floor is yours. Please unmute yourself if you are present.
I can't speak. I don't know if you can hear me, but I cannot speak. I sent a message in the chat.
Okay, she said that she cannot speak. Rochelle, do you have something that you would like us to perhaps read out? If you could share that with us in the chat, you can just upload it. Okay. All right. That's fine. I can read that. No problem. Just give me a second. Okay. So you want me to? Okay. All right. Let me just go to Rochelle. Okay. So I'll just read out, summarize her bio, and then read her statement of intent. So Rochelle Barrett currently works as the publishing manager for NABU, Miami. Born and raised in a Haitian and Jamaican household and moving to the United States as a teenager, Rochelle's upbringing exposed her to a rich tapestry of cultures, igniting her lifelong fascination with the diverse world around her. Embarking on a political science and journalism degree at the University of Miami, kickstarted Rochelle's interest in writing in international politics, earning her various accolades. Driven by a desire to make a broader impact, Rochelle aspires to use her skills in communications to aid countries in need in the Caribbean. Specifically, Rochelle's statement of intent states she supported BPIA during her time as a fall communications intern. She absolutely loved the work that she did, gaining new skills and accomplishments. She's worked hard to succeed and aiding BPIA in new and creative ways. She told her supervisor, Ethel, that she planned on helping BPIA following the internship's end, and she believes that this is the best way that she can aid further. Of course, even if she's not elected, she still plans to be a great partner to BPIA, but she'd like to throw in her hats in the ring and be of best service to the organization based on her performance, innovative ideas, and results of said ideas that were implemented during the fellowship. She believes that she can accomplish great things together and elevate BPIA to becoming a household name. So that is her statement. Thank you so much. I'm assuming that she will not be able to address questions as well. But if there's anybody that does have questions in particular, please do feel free to put them in the chat, and we could probably get her to write back at some point as well. So just not to waste any time. So I see that there is a question there. Rochelle, if you would like to respond to Mael Hunt directly in the chat, if you can. Ooh. I'll read out the question. It says, as a candidate for the position of Vice President of Professional Development at BPIA, how do you envision enhancing and expanding the impact of our membership program to ensure it remains a valuable resource for connecting students and young professionals with accomplished mentors for effective career development, consultation, and guidance? Mael, if that's okay with you, and I mean, Lysine, you will decide as the director of the program director of this part, should we give Rochelle, time to write, or shall we continue and then we'll get back?
Yeah, I think we can continue while Rochelle is answering the question, and we can come back, after all the candidate complete their presentation. All right.
Okay.
All right. So Rochelle, sorry about that, and I feel better. So let's move on to the second candidate for the position of Vice President of Professional Development, Michelle Washington. Michelle, the floor is yours.
Good evening, BPIA members, friends, and partners. My name is Michelle C. Washington. I am running for the Vice President of the Professional Development Committee. A little bit about me. I am a frontline civilian working at the Defense Department, and I lead technology innovation within the Office of the Secretary of Defense. I have over 10 years of experience working in the foreign policy space, primarily at State Department in various bureaus, but now I am driving change at the Defense Department. My passion is driving change and amplifying voices of historically marginalized communities in international affairs, defense, and of course, intel. This is what led me to BPIA and why I want to run for this position. I believe deeply that the work we are doing here in BPIA will open doors for other generations to find their voice and make their impact and lead change, both in the federal sector as well as in the private sector. As the interim vice president for the last several weeks, I've been working to ensure we have a continuation of service for the committee. I've been working tirelessly to maintain our efforts. As Ms. Jackman mentioned earlier, we need to reach back to the younger youth. And so that is exactly what the Madam Ambassador program that I was part of last year as a mentor, and this year I am part of the strategic team trying to rebuild it and make it even better. The Madam Ambassador program, if you're not familiar, is a program where we are getting young girls from the ages of 13 to 21 introduced to international affairs. It is a very deep program with everything from etiquette training to going to the Model United Nations here in DC to an actual tea party with an ambassador. And so I was part of the planning team behind the scenes, supporting our executive team and mainly Madam President Alexandra Maloney. I've also been a critical voice in the United States Institute of Peace mentorship program, where I have helped with the 2023 cohort, and that has been going on. It's ongoing. We have 4 BPIA early career members who are getting exposed to what peacekeeping is and how to explore opportunities in the peacekeeping space. And the timeliness of that could not be understated. We need to amplify that area of international affairs. If I am selected, I want to continue not only these very important programs, but number one, I want to increase BPIA mentorship program by 45%. I want to refine the professional development speaker series, opening it up to some STEM related items. I want to build the Defense and Intelligence Professional Development Initiative that I've been thinking about, and I want to have that as something that we can kind of lean into. And I want to establish a technology-centered line of effort for BPIA members that have an interest in digital governance, AI, data, and digital equity on the global stage. This is an area that I think is emerging and requires us to be ahead of, particularly in the international affairs space. As members, what you can expect from me is partnership. I want to partner with all of the members, bring your ideas to the committee, and together we can bring them to life. I want to guide. I'm in the position where I guide careers. I'm not going to just sell you a dream. I'm going to help you achieve your dreams and work together with you. And on this committee, what I envision is having robust conversations in the speaker series. I want members to have a safe space to share their thoughts and opinions without fear or judgment. We're in the age of the cancel culture. But if we're going to address the needs of our community in this space, it requires us to engage and have robust conversations on matters that matter to us. If there's one thing that you take away from this, I want you to know that BPIA is a place where members come to thrive. Our community is strong and our history is storied. The Professional Development Committee plays a critical role in ensuring that that history moves on beyond us. I'm excited to see what's in store for the committee and the broader BPIA community, and I want to thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for your presentation. Any question for Michelle? See anyways, Alexandria, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Could you give a little color to some of the partnerships and some of the relationship building you've been doing in the interim? As well as, I'll just leave my question at that. Thanks.
Yeah, I believe mentor partnerships are super important for us to thrive. One of the partnerships that I've really been trying to lean into is we've done recently a Heritage Foundation. We actually went to an event with them, a joint event. It was the first time ever sort of event. And we really are trying to reach across the aisle. So going to that allowed me to connect with some others that are working in this space. And so I've been working to connect with the Global Learning Institute and getting them involved in some of the efforts that we're doing here. I've also been connecting with Deloitte. They have been a really big partner in the Madam Ambassador program behind the scenes. And so there's some heavy hitters on the Deloitte side that I've been engaging with. And actually they've been a critical element in getting us with the ambassador of Austria last year. They were critical in helping that partnership, and connecting with them really brought to fruition the Madam Ambassador visit to the Princess Rima of Saudi Arabia. This year, I did a lot with CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus. I was able to attend a lot of events and get BPIA's name out there. And what that resulted in is some connections through Truman National Security Project, as well as we represented it at the Hewlett Packard event, CBC closed door event, where Madam President, you were featured. And I was able to connect with a lot of folks, including the Director General of, I think, the Foreign Service. I think that's her title, her and her team. And so we're gearing up to possibly have a connection in the future on the Professional Development Committee. So partnerships has been critical and very high priority for me. And at every moment, I try to tell the truth about BPIA and the work that we're doing. And what comes from that is just new connections.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle Washington, for your presentation. And I think that concludes the presentations for the position of Vice President for Professional Development. So now let's move on now to the position of the Secretary. We see one position with for a 2-year term. We have only one candidate. Ona Nelson, the floor is yours.
Hello, and thank you so much for pronouncing your name correctly. Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Ona Nelson, and currently in my professional capacity, I serve as a public affairs officer for a Department of Defense Combat Support Agency, and I'm super excited to be here today. I want to first off by saying, wow, some pretty impressive candidates here. And as a young, fresh guppy myself, I look up to the men and women who are bold enough to come here and want to serve BPIA in a greater capacity. And hopefully I'm in a position professionally as some of you someday. Running for secretary for BPIA is a full circle moment for me. I first joined BPIA when I was a freshman at Howard University, like 2017, 2018. And I just remember being surrounded by retired ambassadors who I was extremely intimidated by. But I walked on in because I knew I had a passion for Black faces in international affairs. And throughout my matriculation at Howard University, I served in various positions in international student organizations to ensure that Black people knew what international affairs could be. As for career aspirations myself, I wanted to make sure I got information across to students who did not come from backgrounds that talked about international affairs, careers, etc. And so fast forward a couple years later, I decided after my postgraduate career, I wanted to rejoin BPIA as a full professional adult. And one of my goals was to recruit more young people to join in my capacity. And so from happy hours to policy hours, I loved engaging with the members of BPIA and encouraging new members, new faces to come join this amazing organization that has such a big impact in my life. So with BPIA, one of my most proud moments is participating in the Madam Ambassadors program. It's little me come to life. If I had a program that served a community like that when I was that age, I feel like I could have been way beyond where I am now. And I'm so honored to help be a part of the Strategic Visioning Committee for what next year come for bright new ideas and for new, fresh, young faces. And so you would also see in the candidate bio that before I applied as treasurer, but then I saw no one's running for secretary. And this is such a pivotal role in any board organization, making sure we are the backbone of keeping organization time, etc. And so I'm here to serve, I'm here to learn, and I'm here to grow with all of you.
Thank you so much. Oh, are you done?
I'm ready for questions, bring them on.
All right, any question for Ona? Okay. And also feel free to add your question in the chat. Okay. Any questions? Okay, all right, Alexandria, go ahead, please.
Una, could you share a little bit more about some of the specific footprints that you've had with BPIA, so specifically engaging our student population? So like, for example, you were a featured speaker on our United Nations Persons of African Descent program we did a few years ago in your capacity as the president of the UNA chapter, and you were a mentor with Madam Ambassador. So could you just give a little bit of light of your kind of touch point in the community specific to students? Thanks.
Alexandria, I cannot believe you remember that. That was moons ago. My goodness, your girl has done her homework. So when I was at Howard, I was really passionate about using BPIA as a liaison to help teach students about international affairs. So I definitely reached into the community to invite them to Howard. We had panels and workshops so they can just share their experience and how Black students can tap into those careers. And I was able to make those connections and hopefully change some students' lives. And with becoming a mentor for Madam Ambassador, I've participated in the Model UN program at Howard before for various Model United Nations simulations. And so that's an expertise that I was able to bring to the mentors last year. And I'm super excited to Madam Ambassador is working with the Model UN team again, and to bring that expertise and become a liaison between Howard and BPIA. I'm super excited to fill that role for the upcoming year. Do I have time for one more?
Oh yes, of course, for even two more. Kolo.
Hi, thank you so much, Ona, for your presentation. I want to ask, a more practical question related to the secretary role. Can you speak to us about a time or experience in your life where you fulfilled a role that is, really important, but quite intensive in organization and structure? And just tell us about yourself and how you are able to bring things together and organize things and mobilize people.
Yeah. So I can give you a couple different experiences, very short, because I know I'm running on time here. Time is very important. So when I was at Howard University, I served on the United Nations Association National Capital Area Student Representative to the board. And that's a highly coveted position. It's only 1-year term, and they are appointed by the board itself. And to that, I was able to also connect Howard students to a UN-focused organization that provided opportunities, fellowships, and experiences like traveling to the UN for Black and colored students. I was really happy to serve in that role and be the liaison to Howard. And they really wanted to increase their diversity as well. Also speaking forward, I served on the National Council for UNA USA, the acronym version, where I was able to really advocate for students, especially Black students, on a platform where students can learn more about UNA and how more faces of color can participate in such a prestigious organization. I was really happy to help host events, help curate events, and also learn from the many professionals that I got to work with. And even in my professional career now, I am a public affairs officer. I work on specifically the community outreach team, where my job is to literally plan conferences with my agency. And so that organizational and practical skills, I can definitely see being transferable as in a secretarial role for BPIA.
Oh, thank you so much, Ona, for your presentation. And I think that concludes the presentation for the role of secretary. Let's move on to the position of assistant secretary. We also have only one candidate. Let's go ahead with Christopher Shell.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for this time to introduce myself and to allow you all to get to know myself better and to speak more about my plans and vision for BPIA. I just got over a cold, so please excuse my voice if you hear a little bit of raspiness. But yes, so my name is Christopher Schell. I'm currently a fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, where I do work on African-American opinion on U.S. foreign policy and the U.S.'s role in the world. For myself, my introduction to BPIA actually came when I came back to DC. So BPIA welcomed me with a warm hug. I am a trained historian. I received my PhD in history from Michigan State University in Latin American and Caribbean history. And I was actually supposed to become a professor. And then I received a position at Carnegie to do work on U.S. foreign policy issues, and their BPA was right there to open up to me and, to embrace me into DC and into the foreign policy space. And as such, the BPA reached out and saw me as an asset, and I've currently served as a moderator for the joint event between Heritage Foundation and BPIA, and I've also served as a moderator between BPIA and the Carnegie Endowment, where they conducted an event on what can be done to improve and to seize the moment as a young intern of color in DC working in the foreign policy space. So with that being said, that very much so segues into what I have envisioned for BPIA if I am ever so fortunate to be elected as your assistant secretary. So for me, building on my own work as a historian, my own training as a historian, first would be to have more programming centered around African Americans in the foreign policy space. I think there's a lot of talk, which I think is excellent, about how can we reach out to other individuals and how do we reach out to the younger people about foreign policy. But I think one of the ways in solving this issue is showing individuals that African Americans and people of African descent have been involved either in the foreign policy space or have lended their thinking towards solving world problems. And then one other way I think that we can go about changing BPIA's image and advancing BPIA's work is more work with think tanks. So I think it'll be excellent to have those who are currently in the foreign policy space lend their thought to major world problems. We have the Israel-Hamas issue, we have the war in Ukraine, we have countless issues going on in the continent of Africa. African Americans, people of African descent are thinkers, and I believe that by joining hands with think tanks, we can lend our own expertise to solving some of the world's most critical issues. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Christopher. Any questions for Christopher? Let me check here. I think raise a hand, one hand raised. Okay. Alexandria, go ahead, please.
Sure. Chris, in your experience as a professional and expert in the think tank world, can you just share, in what ways do you think BPIA should be engaging in different think tanks, different schools of thought? Are there individuals that we should and should not be interacting with, and why? Or should we be interacting fully across the landscape? Thanks.
Thank you. So to answer your question, I believe that building on my work with Heritage Foundation, or not my whole work, but partnering with BPIA with the Heritage event and myself working on the opposite end at the Carnegie Endowment, I think BPIA should be working with the whole host of think tanks. So whether it's libertarian in thinking like the Cato Institute, whether it's a bit more conservative like Heritage, or a bit more left-leaning and more centrist like Brookings or Carnegie Endowment, I think we should be partnering with all those different groups, because even in the African-American community, we have the whole expanse of the political spectrum. So we shouldn't just narrow or limit ourselves in that way. To that next point, I think that it's necessary that individuals in BPIA are working with think tanks, just thinking about our own foreign policy background, but just different foreign policy thinking. As African and African descendant people, we have our own unique experience as in the press people who are self-determined, that we can then lend different ways of understanding current conflicts.
Thanks.
Rick, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Lassine. So hi, I had a question in regards to your expertise as a historian, as a trained historian, and my question is: given your background in that subject matter, how do you think that BPIA should focus on perhaps gathering a thorough history of the organization and what we've accomplished over the last few decades, or would you just solely focus on your new role and not bring in your training as a historian in collecting the history of the organization?
Thank you for that question. So 1 minute. Okay, thank you. So to answer that question in short, I think we can essentially, chew gum and walk at the same time. So I think several things should be done. Well, one, yes, definitely talk about what BPIA has accomplished in the past and how BPIA has helped bring African Americans into the foreign policy establishment. But even I think we should also do work, some type of programming, just charting just in general, people who were in the foreign policy space before BPIA. I'm just thinking about Ralph Bunche, influential in the United Nations formation, like just talking about how African Americans who did not have this bulwark that is BPIA made their way. And then just talking about what we can now do further now that we have an organization that has provided this foundation for people of color. So I think we can do both of those things moving forward.
Thank you, Rick, for your question, and thank you so much, Christopher, for your presentation. That concludes the presentation for the role of Assistant Secretary. So let's now move on quickly to the presentation for the position of Assistant Treasurer, which is one position for 2-year term. Let's start with Sierra A. Bracero, if she's present.
Hi, everyone. I'd just like to start off by saying I just got out of the hospital today. Been in ICU for a few days. I just had surgery, so I'm winded easily, so I will be speaking slowly. My name is Sierra Bracero. I currently work at the U.S. Department of State as an anti-corruption advisor in the Western Hemisphere. And I, at Department of State, hold 2 treasury positions, one for HECFA, which is the Hispanic and Latin Employee Council for Foreign Affairs Agencies, and the second is FARA, which is Foreign Association of Foreign Affairs Recreation Association. And my role is treasurer for both. I have a wide range of background. I like the role of treasurer, especially for nonprofits that I believe in, because as you've heard today, a lot of candidates have had great ideas for programs and initiatives, but all of these need funding. And I seem to have a really good knack at finding funding and grants. Mom, can you stop them? Thank you. Sorry, funding and grants and flagship events that bring people together to hear about our cause. I myself, I'm a very proud Puerto Rican woman, but I consider myself to be an Afro-Latina. So I very much identify with Black professionals in international affairs as much as I do for the Hispanic and Latin employees. And I feel sometimes there's a disconnect between some ethnic related groups that may have more in common than we think, especially when it comes to our memberships and financing and grant opportunities. And I'd like to serve with BPIA and showing and helping bring forth some new financial initiatives to really support all these great ideas that we have. And when we connect more with other organizations, they bring more diverse background and learning that we may not have originally thought in BPIA, that I would hopefully like to bring forth in this organization. And thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Sierra, and we really appreciate your time here for you to be, your time to be here despite your condition. Thank you so much. Would you like to move forward with a Q&A, or you would like to?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay.
The more I talk, the better it is for me breathing anyway. So
okay, okay. Thank you so much. I think this time I'll start with a question because you'll be working directly with me. Can you please expand a little bit on your plan for fundraising if you were elected as assistant treasurer?
Yes, very much. So right now we're actually doing a flagship fundraising gala for HEFA. I know BPIA has some fundraising efforts in that respect, but I'm actually the pioneer of ours and creating relationships with not just nonprofits, but local banks and people invested in the community. Those who have DEIA efforts or like to say so, and I'm really just like to have them put their money where their mouth is and to show that they actually do support and care for us. So those fostering those relationships would be really big for me. Another is grants. There are so many grants that just go unrewarded because people, one, don't have the time to do it, or they may have the idea but don't know how to get started. And I do have background with it. And then lastly, for fundraising, I think BPIA does a great job with getting its name and its brand out there. So memberships and dues are great, but I've also found that if you're not a- already kind of connected to the inner circle of like the international affairs world, we just don't, there's not that much name recognition. And I'd like to kind of a little outreach and work to spread BPIA to those in the middle of the country who want to be a Black professional in international affairs. That way they become members and we get more dues, but they also become part of our community.
Thank you so much.
And there's
Right.
others like me who are Latino, we go speaking Spanish, that's our identity. But more as we get older, we recognize that we have a lot more in common as well with the Black community that we've never really had the chance to get connected with. And I think that we're a great ethnic group to tap into, and I'd like to do that because Puerto Ricans, every other one is darker than me. So I think that we're people that I would like to cultivate a relationship with.
All right, thank you so much, Sierra. Any questions? We still have 1 minute for Sierra. Any questions for Sierra? Any questions? Let me see, Kolo, feel free to let me know if you see any hand raised. All right, Sarah, thank you so much for your presentation. Really appreciate it. I hope you feel better. Let's move on with the second candidate for the position of Assistant Treasurer, Mr. Mark Hamilton.
Thank you. Good afternoon, BPIA friends, family, and colleagues and partners. Thank you so much for allowing me to take the time to express why I'd be a great assistant treasurer with BPIA. I first joined BPIA. Well, the first event I went to in BPIA was last December 2023 for the Christmas party, and I fell in love with BPIA. I think that Black professionals in international affairs is so important to not only the DMV area, but to the whole country in itself. And then so currently right now, I'm working on Capitol Hill. I work for Congressman Steny Hoyer, who was the former Democratic Majority Leader. And right now, I handle transportation issue, international affairs issues, and appropriations issues. So not only do I have experience with working with grants, but I also have experience working with the Committee on Foreign Affairs, and especially the subcommittee on Africa. And so as my mom once told me, your network is your network. And so I feel like BPIA is such a great organization, but there's so many people on the Hill who have not heard about BPIA. There's so many Black staffers who want to get into international affairs and that have not. Currently on the Hill, I also serve as Congressional Black Associates, Congressional Liaison for the CBC. So I have connections at the CBC. I also serve as Black Men on the Hill, the community service advisor for Black Men on the Hill. And then I also currently am the director for Noops on the Hill. So with all three of those things, I feel like we can not only get more members, but also spread the wealth and spread, because there's so many important things going on internationally that we're discussing in the nation's capital, where I feel that there's not enough of us. As when I say us, I mean Black and African Americans and Africans and people of African descent expressing our values and faiths. I also have experience with I went to Marquette University. I was treasurer for 3 years for our Black Student Council. I've also ran campaigns, so I know how to fundraise. I know how to manage funds, things of that nature. And then I just feel like, and thank you for giving me even though I do not have that much experience in international affairs, I'm ready to learn, I'm ready to work. So thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you so much, Mark. Appreciate your presentation. Any question for Mark?
Yep, I have a question, Lassini. Sorry, I wasn't able to do the raise hand in time.
No problem. Go ahead.
Mark, can you speak to how do you see BPIA engaging with Capitol Hill, with Congress, with CBC? Like what key stakeholders should we be engaging? How do you see us engaging in them, and the role that you would play in that?
Sure. So I feel that one of the things that we definitely should engage is definitely the subcommittee on African affairs. I feel that with Sarah Jacobs, I have many contacts in her office, but also just having events with, for example, Black Men on the Hill, another board that I'm part of, which would love to have an event with BPIA, just showing Black people, especially on the Hill, interns and staffers alike. Hey, this is some international ways. This is a way that you can get into international affairs, learn more about it, because there's many staffers that just don't know about the organization. And I feel like it's such a great organization that there should be more events and more intersectionality between the two.
All right, thank you. Rick, please go ahead.
So yes, hi Mark. My question with you, I think that given the fact that we are fraternity brothers, and I know there's a lot of D9 members in the organization, you mentioned your interest in wanting to organize with different organizations. So my question is that if you were elected as the assistant treasury, how would you use your expertise to connect specifically with D9 members? Because I think that there is a need to grow the D9 members in the organization, and then for those members to represent BPIA like throughout the networks.
I would say definitely just the network that I have and things of that nature. And so thank you, Fred, for asking that question. So I currently am the director for Noops on the Hill, which my organization is Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And so with that organization, I know all the Divine Nine members, not just staffers, but members in Congress as well. And just those connections, and there's many D9. I know that our BPIA president is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. So there's many members that could benefit from just knowing, not only going to events, but then more people coming to our events as well.
All right, thank you so much, Mark, for your presentation. I think that concludes the presentations for the role of assistant treasurer. Let's now move on to the role of members at large. We'll start with the first one, member at large, one position for 2-year term. We have three candidates. Let's start with Jimmy Santos. Jimmy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Leslie, and I appreciate that. Hello, everyone, and thank you for calling in from the many places all over the world from which you're calling. Thank you in advance for your potential consideration as you make your selections and cast your ballots. My name is Jimmy Santos, and I'm running for member at large for a position on the BPIA board for a 2-year term. I am originally from Boston, Massachusetts, and I recently moved down to Washington, D.C., where I am extremely fortunate to serve as an appointee in the Biden-Harris administration working at the Department of Defense. Like my colleagues on the call, I'd like to serve on the board in order to best assist the BPI membership. The way by which I feel that I can assist in that is by empowering our members. I want to empower our members to follow their life path as they see fit. Our role as professionals in international affairs does not mean working in the field of diplomacy or defense exclusively. We can work at the local level and in different forums. We can support diaspora. We can promote some national diplomacy. We can write op-eds and write white papers. We can engage in these issues either as part of our professional careers, but also as part of our personal interests. I also want to take advantage of every opportunity in that regard to spotlight and showcase our members, highlighting those within the community that have started new positions, have published articles, that are working collaboratively with other organizations, or have simply achieved a life goal that means a lot to them themselves. I want to serve on the board in order to advocate for the great programs that BPIA already has in place, to increase utilization in the mentor program, to connect members no matter the stage of their career or geographic location. Typically, when we talk about mentors and mentees, we view that in terms of younger individuals or those that are new to a specific career, but we have opportunities to connect with those at different stages in their life, at different stages in their career, and we should capitalize on that to provide different pathways for individuals to get involved, to stay active, and change their personal and professional life path from there. I want to use the city and campus coordinators to serve as hosts to new and visiting members to the region. I want to activate and task out the expert database, putting the skill set of our community to work to highlight their value. And I want to show that we maximize opportunities on the BPA job board, not just to highlight open vacancies, but also leadership development opportunities, fellowships, term positions, by also adding in vignettes or testimonials from BPI members who have already gone through those programs and can serve as experts or mentors in those regards. I saw the 1-minute flag, so I'll just go ahead and just go into my personal bio a little bit here. Prior to moving to DC, I spent 5 years serving as the senior policy advisor to the then mayor of Boston, focused exclusively on economic mobility, finding pathways for employment, access to public transportation, credit building, financial stability, increasing diversity and representation on the 65 boards and commissions that the city has. It's an old city with a lot of outdated and obsolete laws, which also means that it's difficult for new individuals, young individuals, diverse individuals to get on those boards. And so we identify different pathways, thinking years in advance in terms of getting into young individuals, particularly those in high school, into careers that are specifically augmented on the board. And so getting involved in real estate and architecture so that a few years from now, when we have a vacancy for a realtor, we can actually look at a diverse body pool instead of the typical white men that exist in Boston and can only take up those seats. While working on the economic mobility team, I also changed policy governance on how we do contracting with the city of Boston by prioritizing minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses. And within the first 12 months, we increased the number of minority demographics by 5 times, enabling them to engage with the city of Boston, have a contract, and then continue the cycle of economic development for those different demographics. Out of respect for time, I'll stop there and wait for the questions. But once again, thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate everyone staying on the call. My name is Jimmy Santos, and I'll stand by for further questions.
All right, thank you so much, Jimmy. We have now 2 minutes for Jimmy. Kolo, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Jimmy, for your presentation. I think the position of board member at large is interesting, but can also be difficult because you don't have a specific portfolio or role. So can you just speak to us about what specific aspects do you really want to zone in on? I think you've shared with us, a wealth of your experience and background, but I really just want to know what is it that you'd really, in your first year, because you've got a 2-year term, zone in on?
Thank you so much, Bello. I appreciate that question. I might actually provide an answer that you might not be looking for. And so you asked about how I can focus in or specialize in something, but I think the beauty of being a board member at large is that you're not necessarily tied to a specific subject matter, or you're not tethered to only being able to speak up on a certain issue. Obviously, the board of directors can talk about whatever issue matters to them, but also by abiding by Robert's Rules of Orders and the agenda, and by the way, basic board governance works, you may only have a small window to talk about all these different things that are important to you. So what I really want to focus on is being able to use my background, use my experience, use my network to actually address all of these issues simultaneously. So I want to talk about how we can engage with those at the local level in different cities to focus on subnational diplomacy is a big thing that's important to me. I want to talk about how BPIA can use its expertise to activate the diaspora and allow their voices to be heard about what's going on the ground level in their local communities, no matter where it is in the United States. BPIA being what it is, we have a lot of members in New York, a lot of members in DC, but we have a lot of opportunity to reach out to those across the country and across the world and actually gather their input as well. So I really want to focus on activating the membership and seeing how we can best utilize their skill sets and their passions, and not necessarily only focus on, I know we're BPIA, but we can focus on other aspects of international affairs outside of the Beltway.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jimmy. For the sake of time, we'll leave it to one question. And thank you. We really appreciate your presentation. Let's move on to the next candidate. Chinedu Nwankwo. Hope I got it right. The floor is yours, Chinedu.
Lasini, I got a message from Chinedu that he's handling a family emergency. He won't be able to join tonight, so we can go to the next candidate.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Alessandra. So the next candidate is Kenny Blackeny. Kenny, the floor is yours. Is Kenny there?
No, I don't see him on the call.
Okay. All right. So I guess any question again for Jimmy? All right, so let's move on to the next position. So remember, our large 2 open positions for 1-year term. Let's start with Keshi Ashebi. Keshi.
I know she mentioned in the board in the chat that she might not be able to turn on her video. And I also know that she is in South Africa, so I hope she's still up.
Okay.
Kechi?
All right, so probably we can move on with it. If you have a candidate and then go back to Kechi. Yeah. All right, so the next candidate is Corey Budlock. Corey, go ahead.
Well, that was fast. I wasn't expecting that to be going so soon. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Corey Bullock. I'm senior manager of government affairs at a company called Tenable, which is a global cybersecurity firm. This is a bit of a homecoming for me. I'm a long-term BPI member, served on the board for about 3 years, and in that time, helped usher in sort of a new generation of board members and help shape, BPIA to what it is today. I took a break to focus on family, but have since been sort of easing back into BPIA engagement. Served as the DC City liaison this year, and I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and jump back in and take on some more responsibility. So I've been, focused on diversity issues, working on diversity issues for basically throughout my career. I was the president of the Black ERG at USAID, where I hosted the first ever HBCU conference there. I'm currently a lead for the Black ERG in my company now. Always worked on these issues. And while I know there's a lot of focus on recruitment and getting numbers up and getting access to organizations, I really want to focus on, creating a seat at the table for Black professionals to really shape policy discussions. And that's my vision for the BPIA. I want BPIA to be the venue where Black professionals in foreign policy at the table and can engage in key discussions. Obviously, Israel-Gaza conflict happening today is a great topic where we have a unique perspective. I want to work with the communications committee on the board, thinking fireside chats with members of Congress, administration officials, senior business executives, putting out key statements on developments and issues, building out the podcast to highlight some of our experts. I know a lot of times we tend to focus on African issues in Africa, but I know we have experts in our membership on China, on climate, on other issues. And I think it's really important to showcase that expertise and get our voices heard in those important discussions. My plan to do that is to leverage the relationships I've built throughout my career. You know, I've worked for Samantha Power at USAID. I'm now working in the tech sector. I'm a Truman National Security Fellow. I'm part of the leadership circle at Foreign Policy for America. So I have a lot of venues and access to key, key thinkers in this space, and can help BPIA build out partnerships, relationships, and expand program on some key key topics there. So I've been sitting on the sidelines, admiring the work that Alexandria and the current board is doing to grow the organization. I'm now ready to jump back in and help grow the organization and expand on this mission. So I hope to count on your vote and look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you so much, Corey. Any question for Corey? Any questions for Corey?
So there's a question in the chat. I'll just read it out. Job wants to know, what do you think is the work of a member at large?
Well, I think similar to your question to Jimmy, the member at large position is unique in that there's no specific portfolio. So I think it's, really up to the board member to shape the portfolio and focus on, their interests, leverage their relationships, their expertise to further the goal of the organization. As I highlighted in my presentation, my focus would be on, getting opportunities for BPIA members to engage in key discussions. I was just at an event with Congressman Colin Allred on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He's someone I think who will be really interested in engaging with BPIA. So, doing an event with him, or getting corporate sponsorships, those are things that, are on my mind that I think I can help BPIA with. So.
All right. So Lasini, just update. We just got Kechi back on the line.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any questions? Any question again for Corey? Alexandra, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Corey, just as someone who's seeing kind of the trajectory of BPI, what would you consider one of the defining moments that you've kind of experienced with the organization? And what are we doing right now that we should be doing more of?
So yeah, defining moments. When I was on the board, I was in charge of sort of planning a lot of the social events, happy hours. We did events at bars, we did events at Decor House, and just seeing the membership grow and the interest grow, I think was a cool moment. I think back then BPIA was still sort of building out its brand, but I think we really achieved some success, especially with the younger crowd. So I think continuing to do that. I would say, I know there's some work on getting corporate sponsorships. I think we can do a lot more of that. Obviously, the programming isn't cheap, especially with inflation these days. So getting help to offset some of those costs, help with, scholarships to be able to, provide more scholarships, to be able to do paid internships. I think that will really help BPIA go a long way.
All right, thank you so much, Corey. Appreciate your presentation. Let's now move on, go back to Kechi. I'm sorry. Was it Kechi? Okay, with Kechi Achibi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Kechi Achebe. I currently serve as the Director of the Office of Global Health and HIV at Peace Corps in Washington, D.C. I'm a public health physician and have been working in the last 27 years in the area of international development and affairs, clinical medicine, implementing global health and international development programs, policies, and plans, working with governments all over the globe to deliver services to benefit the low and middle income communities. An article published in the New York Times about 2 weeks ago, written by Declan Walsh, was titled, "The World is Becoming More African." The article stated that the world is growing as African blooms with youth. It went further to state that by 2015, 1 in 4 people on the planet will be African. So there's going to be a seismic change, which is already starting to register. So we members of BPIA are therefore at a pivotal moment where Blacks in international affairs need to stand up to the increased demand the global evolution will require and bring. We need to position ourselves to be able to lead in a globally changing world that will call for us to be sensitive to the culture, context, and needs to the new global universe. As decisions are made that would affect the majority of Black people, we need to be at the table crafting the right policies that are appropriate. For this and many more is the reason why I would love to serve as a member at large on the BPIA board. I want to use my skills in leadership to support and position members to be ready and be in leadership positions in international affairs. I've been in leadership for the past 18 years, so I think I can bring my expertise to help members. So I just want to leave with one thing. So if you remember anything that I've said, I think please remember this slogan, some. I want to serve so others might excel in leadership in international affairs. Thank you for your time and consideration, and apologies that I can be have my video on because the bandwidth is quite low in the hotel where I'm at because I'm on a short-term assignment in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kechi. Really appreciate you making the time to be to join us this evening. Any question for Dr. Kechi Achebe? Liza, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Achebe. I realize it's very early in the morning your time, so really appreciate you making the time. Because of your work in the international development space, I'm fairly sure you're aware of the notion of locally led development that we're all hearing a lot about these days. I wonder if you can share with the group here, what do you believe that means, both in terms of the challenges that exist in certain countries where resources are being committed, but also for the international organizations that serve those communities. On both sides, what are both the challenges and opportunities connected to locally led development?
Thank you for the question. You know, I think that's the word, first of all, localization is not something new, but yes, the emphasis has been greater in the last couple of years. I think that, you know, it's something that we ultimately have to deal with. You know, with globalization, a lot of countries are self-sufficient in terms of local expertise. We have lived in a time where for a long time, it has always been, you know, the West coming to low and middle income countries and trying to determine the policies and the ways that things should happen. Well, I think the reason for that has been, most times it comes from a good place, but we've missed some of the, I'll say, cultural context and nuances in those countries. So with localization now, I think there's more realization on that. And just the same way I said that we need to have Black people that are in leadership so we can craft the policies. Localization is looking at how you can make sure you have the people on the ground. And when I say the people on the ground, it's not just governments up to the smallest cadre of people at the lowest level in the villages and the communities, that they need to also, we're now sensitive that they need to be there to craft those programs and plans so that we can be more effective. Because if we're not sensitive to the needs of the people that we're providing services to, we're going to fail. So, localization doesn't totally mean that, the international space is no longer relevant, but it is making sure that there is, there's sensitivity and that there's need to have the local perspective, not only as we determine what to do, but that they are there and they are equal partners and there's equity as we look at international affairs.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kechi. There's another question for you in the chat, but for the sake of time, if you could answer that question, through the chat, and we'll move on with the next candidate for a position of member at large. Thank you so much, Dr. Kechi, for your presentation. Let's move on to the next candidate, Addis Holloway. Please, the floor is yours, Addis.
Hey, good morning, good evening, everyone. I'm Otis Holloway. I do want to note that it is 3:51 in the morning where I am. I'm currently in Maputo, Mozambique, and I would like that to serve as a testament for the excitement that I have about BPIA, as well as my motivation for being on this board. I'm originally from Georgia. Live permanently in Washington, D.C., but as I mentioned before, I'm based in Maputo, working on a 10-year strategy to prevent conflict, promote stability in Mozambique, to address underlying grievances that may cause violent extremism and different tensions in the country. Work with the State Department, and my current role is at the U.S. Embassy here in Maputo, and I'm representing the Bureau of Conflict and Stabilization Operations. And I do want to highlight just on my professional experiences. I've been a Born Fellow, and I speak Portuguese, and I know my personal interest in the organization is really has grown. I'm passionate about international affairs, and just seeing BPIA as a vibrant organization, there's activities all the time, and I don't just want to be a part of it. I want to help drive the organization forward. I bring my personal expertise in serving in the peace building space and working in various sub-Saharan African countries, whether it be West, Central, East, or Southern Africa. And I believe I bring fresh ideas and, just some new energy into the organization as far as serving on the board, where I'm thinking about community service that we could do domestically or internationally, but also participate in debates. And like other members on the board or interests on the board, I believe Black Professionals in International Affairs as an institution has a vital role in international affairs and being able to make political statements have lively debates as an institution where we can speak as a body and make statements on different issues around the world, independent of our affiliations professionally or what we do for the government or elsewhere. So I did want to say thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to any questions.
All right, thank you so much, Aris. Any question for Aris? Kolo, go ahead, please.
Thank you also, Otis, for staying up until 4 a.m. in the morning. Thank you for your dedication.
I woke up.
Oh, you did. Good for you. So one thing that actually just came into my mind as the organization grows, I'm in Europe, you're in Africa. There's a couple others that were presenting from South Africa as well. How do we, what is your thought about expanding the organization, globally and beyond, obviously? And two, how do we still keep the organization a community as it grows?
Yes, so one, expanding globally, I think it makes sense for us to have some connections with different officials, whether they be Black people or other ethnicities, where people come in and discuss different issues going on in their countries, whether they be political activists, politicians, or business professionals, where they can speak to our organization and, or we could just connect with them on various engagements. And I think it's important for us to maintain the community. When I was in DC, I did participate in the First Fridays. And I think that's a great way to maintain this community. And then also the once a month virtual meet and greets. And I believe that allows folks that aren't based in one city or in the States to stay connected as a community.
Thank you, Aris. Any other question for Aris? All right, thank you so much, Aris, for your time. I really appreciate it. So let's move on to the last candidate, not the least, Ethel Midwenzidira. I hope I can.
Thanks. Hey, everyone. We're almost done, so don't worry. Thanks for sticking around. My name is Ethel Mwedziwandira, and I'm running for re-election for the board member at large position. As the chair of the BPIA Communications Committee, it's been my job to help scale up BPIA's footprint online to over 11,000 followers. I've also helped to lead expansion efforts to our Madam Ambassador program, our internship program with over 40 interns to date, and countless virtual events and programs. I've been a member of BPIA for almost 4 years, and I continue to be inspired by the vision of our founder, Barbara C. Patterson, and the current leadership of the organization to strategically expand the footprint and the impact of BPIA. Under my leadership as chair of the Communications Committee, I developed our social media strategy that has pushed us to nearly 11,000 followers across platforms and have ensured that our branding is consistent. And my goal for next year is 15,000 and continued endorsements and resharing from organizations like the State Department, USAID, HP, and others. I helped create and lead this year's Leadership Speaker Series and supported several of our events. Our virtual events like our webinars and our networking programs are so important and are a great way to allow our members worldwide to connect with like-minded individuals. And I am so committed to making sure that these impactful initiatives continue, and I'm committed to training others in our community to also do them. I supervised and I mentored this year's fall and summer intern cohorts, as well as the Madam Ambassador program, supporting both programs' operations. And both programs exposed our young professionals to careers in international affairs and provided mentorship. And I'm dedicated to continuing this commitment to support the next generation of leaders. My vision for BPIA includes 4 main objectives. Elevate BPIA's profile, use cutting-edge digital tools to put us at the forefront, bring the next generation to help bridge the gap, and expand our membership with quality programs of interest to our members. I'm deeply committed and invested in the success of BPIA, and it would be an honor to continue the important work that lies ahead. I think it's very vital to build a future where BPIA stands at the forefront. Thank you.
Thank you so much, FL. Any question for FL? Check.
Not all at once.
All right, and great. We got a question. Alexandria, go ahead, please.
I think you're on mute, or maybe you're just.
We can't hear you. I think you might be having an issue. Now you're muted. Unmute. Okay. Oh.
Sound maybe?
Mm.
If you want to type in the chat, I could answer it.
Okay. All right. Any other question? All right, Coro, go ahead, please.
Ethel, thank you so much for your presentation, of course, for your service to our community. But I guess, you know, we always have to be looking forward and wanting more. If you had, you know, your dreams come true, where would BPIA be in terms of communication and outreach?
Yeah, communications. I, hope that, BPIA continues to be a household name. I hope that, organizations come to us as the experts in our field. And I, hope to, receive inquiries where, media outlets are asking us our input on, foreign affairs and international affairs related matters. So, I would say that would be just that main objective regarding communications.
All right, thank you. I think there's a question. Cole, you want to read?
Yes, I can read it out. So from Alexandra Maloney, she says, can you speak to the scale of your impact, specifically, or that is where it started when you first came on in terms of social media, where we are now, and where you see us going?
Yeah, so when I first started, we definitely had a few thousand followers, and LinkedIn has been our biggest platform. We have almost 7,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I think it's because we do such a good job at connecting with professionals on LinkedIn, and that is our best platform for BPIA. Where we are now, sorry, I just blanked. I was rereading the question. Yeah, where we are now, we continue to see significant growth across all our platforms. I mean, we have lots of campaigns that we've done that have increased our membership. And, I want us to continue doing those social media campaigns. We have IMBPIA, we have our BPIA News Roundup that focuses on news in the African diaspora. We have our BPIA Explains, and it's a video series. We have our podcast, we have the newsletter. So just continuing to just use those tools that we have and just continuing to expand on that.
All right. Thank you so much, FL, for your presentation. And I think that concludes now the presentation for the position of membership, board member at large. And at the same time, concludes the all of the presentations. Thank you so much. And I'm tempted to echo honor and say, wow, wow, wow. Such a great pool of candidates. Thank you so much, all of you, for your time, for your interest in joining the BPIA board. Unfortunately, I wish we would continue that conversation. Unfortunately, it's already we are over time. So I would like to yield back to Kolo for a closing remark.
Okay, thank you so much. And I just echo Lassine's congratulations as well. Before we close out, I'd like to invite our president, Alexandra Maloney, who has a few words to share.
I think she has been having
no, we still can't hear you. Oh no. All right. Sorry about that. We will not be able to listen to Alexandra, but nonetheless, I know she is going. Thank you. Was going to express her warm thanks, and that's I want to express our warm thanks to you for all of you taking the time. 19 of you taking the time to write out your nomination forms, to contact us, and everything that has happened in between. We thank you for your commitment. We thank you for your service, and we look forward to working with you in whatever capacity that you can, whether you're on the board or not. As was mentioned, just earlier, this organization will be 35 years old next year. And so we are really standing on the shoulders of giants. We are serving our community. We are doing the best that we can with what we have, but really with big, big hearts. And so we look forward to working with you. We look forward to joining and continuing the work that we've been doing over the past 35 years. Just as a next step, as you all know, you will be receiving the ballots, as soon as possible. And the voting will be open until the 27th of November. Also to let you know that those candidates that were not able to present in person will be on the ballot still. So their profiles are still there. Please do consult them. And if you have any questions, do feel free to reach out. So thank you again. We hope to see you on December 13th in the annual meeting where the candidates will be announced, and we'll send you more information about that and how to join in. So thank you all. Good morning to you all, and good evening to you all. And we hope to see you soon. All the best. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.